Public Enlightenment Show, FLPE for short. Or you can call us the Money Gang. You can call us the Teach You How to Make Profit Gang. But whatever you choose to call us, our goal is simple. But we're here to open your eyes to vital information on government. Telling you just how to catch up on those episodes. But let me tell you about what we have for you today. We're not going to take much of your time for Monday evening, and you probably had a long day, but we're about to make your day even much better. What we're bringing to you today is a revolution. Yeah, you heard that. It's a revolution that is transforming the way we do business and conduct transactions, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, and even across the world. So we do not want you to miss out on the benefits and all the dits on this. And that's why today we're taking you into the vast world of agency banking. I'll say that again, agency banking. That's what we're diving into today. If you're wondering what that is, well, don't worry. By the time we're done with you on the show today, well, you will know all you need to know about the fundamentals of agency banking and how it can help you become financially viable. That is our number one goal. We're here for you. But today, as always, we'll be bringing you the very best trends in the financial sector. Well, that's great. How about social media? Yeah, we're there for you. We're literally everywhere. And here's how to be a part of the show. That's the beauty about the show. You can also be a part of today's show. If you've got questions, if you've got comments on today's conversation or what have you, you can send them to this number so you can get your pen or your writing material down as I call the numbers which you can get in touch with us. The number to send your message to is 0909-861-5403. I'll take that again. If you want to send your message, your questions, comments, or what have you, get this number down, 0909-861-5403. But that's not all. You can also call in on this program. Yeah, we can hear your voice, hear your questions live and direct. And that will be when we open our phone lines, of course. But you want to take it down, this number. It's 0705-149-3324. They're asking me to take it slow so you don't miss this. The number to call on the show today is 0705-149-3324. If you pardon me, I'm really excited. This is an area that gets me excited because we want to empower you to be the very best you can. But that's not all. You can also head over to our website. That's smegrowth.ng. On that website, you get access to numerous materials. You get access to our previous episodes, by the way, and all the platforms with which you can get in touch with us. So smegrowth.ng is where to go. I'll just spell that out for you. smegrowth.ng. There you go. So those are the channels with which you can be a part of this amazing show. Well, I'm ready for today. As I introduce our resource persons, we have a full panel today. And again, I am very excited because we have vast, resource persons who have been in the industry for years, some even decades. So don't worry, you're in the right place. I'll introduce our guests, our resource persons. We have joining us from Abuja, Mr. Akinwunni Olubukola, who is the head of payment policy at the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. We also have joining us Mr. A.Kambarima, who is also joining us from Abuja, is the head agency banking at Jaiz Bank. Also joining us today, the third person, don't forget I told you we have a full panel, is Mr. Obinna, Egwuonwu, who is the head agency banking at Fidelity Bank PLC. So we have more people for you. Mr. Akoh Ochai is joining us virtually, is the head channels and innovation at Union Bank, as well as Mr. Damilola Ayorinde, who is the co-founder, Crowd Force. We'll explain what that means for you in time. Mr. Friday Nwokolo is also here with me in the Lagos studio. You can see him on Zoom if you're joining us. He's a product manager, financial inclusion at First City Monument Bank, FCMB, and of course, Mr. Chukwudi Ibeh, who is also in Lagos. You can see him right there in that jacket. Of course, there you go. He's the head inclusive banking production rounds. Let's get into the conversation. Gentlemen, are you ready for this? All right, let's do this. So we don't want to take this for granted. No, and we know about e-banking. Some of us even know about piggy bank. But what is this agency banking all about? And I'd like to start, of course, from the source of this. So Mr. Akinwunni Olubukola of CBN, can you break this down for us? What is agency banking?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Agency banking simply seeks to bring banking services closer to the people. We've always made an attempt towards improving financial inclusion, increasing access to financial services. So what agency banking aims to do is to get the banks closer to people through agents. Now, agents are those banks have pre-qualified as able to provide certain basic services using some devices that banks have provided for them to customers of the banks who may be far away from the bank or from any bank branch. So it is aimed at targeting those that may be disadvantaged in terms of the presence of bank branches in their area. It also aims to give other opportunities to those who may have the challenge, say for example, because they are in such an environment where they practice their business or their trade and may not have all the luxury of time to go back and forth to bank. The agents provide services in forms of cash in or cash out, which could be cash in being deposits of funds of money, and cash out is withdrawal of funds. It's one of the initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria in collaboration with the Bankers Committee to ensure that Nigerians, wherever they may be located, have access to financial services. Thank you.
Brilliant. So basically to ensure that Nigerians have access to financial services, essentially democratize access to these banking services. Mr. Olubukola, thank you for that opener. But just to further establish this, I don't want people to think, wait a minute, we're doing this in isolation. Can you maybe walk us through how this is a thing perhaps in other clients? Are we the only one doing this? Is this something universal? Essentially, help us understand how we are placed in the global space when it comes to agency banking.
Okay, great. It's not a Nigerian thing. Sometimes around 2009-2010, Nigeria decided to embrace mobile money with the proliferation of mobile phones, the pervasive access that encouraged mobile money in Nigeria. As at that time, Kenya was already known for its mobile money initiative, and agent banking in Kenya is quite big. They practiced mobile money perhaps ahead of us. Also in the Philippines and some other countries, especially in the developing world, it's been found that mobile money and digital financial services is the way to accelerate access to financial services. And in that regard, you find out that there may be need occasionally while using electronic or mobile money services to have reasons that requires you to have cash, or you have some excess cash on you that you'd rather want to have in electronic form. That brought about the requirement for agents to be accessible to everyone. So in responding to the need to further encourage service through digital financial services, agency banking came in very handy, and it's the way for most emerging nations, countries, developing countries, to ensure that banking services spread across various geographies, especially in areas where you have large expanse, where you have areas that are majorly remote areas. You know that in times most in Africa, in most countries in Africa, you don't have the level of urbanization is not as much as in the developed nations, and as a result of that, mobile agent banking became a vehicle to take financial services across, and it's in line with what most developing nations are doing. Thank you.
Just before I bring in our other panelists, let me just quickly get you to respond to this one. Just how vast is this world of agency banking? How many people do we have on board?
Okay, well,
maybe yes, agents and all that.
Okay, great. We have over 1 million agents at the moment. If you recall, sometimes around 2015, the central bank and the bankers committee decided to launch what is called the Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility to grow the level of agents that we have in the country. Before that period, we had been trying through the mobile money providers to extend agent services to Nigerians. However, we didn't get the traction needed at that time, though there was appreciable growth. But with the introduction of the Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility, in which the bank supported super agents and agents alike, as well as banks who are pushing for extension of their agent network, we saw a very good growth in the last, especially just about COVID-19 period. Pre-COVID-19, just immediately before COVID-19, and into COVID-19, when it became very necessary that Nigerians have access to alternatives outside the branch network of banks. We have been able to scale up the access points, the touch points for financial services through the Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility. And we are currently over 1.1 million agents across Nigeria. In terms of different regions, we do have some areas to improve on. We have in the Northeast over 78,000, whereas in the Southwest, where you have the maximum number, you have over 410,000 agents.
So 1.1 million. We'll still get to the target, but let me come to our Lagos studio quickly, where I have Mr. Nwokolo and Mr. Ibeh with me. And I'd like to begin with Mr. Nwokolo. In terms of the benefits of agency banking, I know there's a lot, and I'll ensure that we all speak to it. What are some of the benefits of agency banking?
Yeah, I think that the earlier speaker has alluded to some of those benefits, but let me just add that for ease of transaction, you don't want to go into a regular bank, you don't want to queue up on the ATM, you have an agent very close to you, and so you can just walk in there and carry out your transaction.
So all these kiosks that you see at different corners.
Exactly.
Those are mini banks.
Those are mini banks, exactly. And then talk about employment. It's a benefit that we have derived as a country from agency banking. So it's created a lot of employment opportunities for graduates who have enrolled themselves as agents, and then some other school leavers who have been employed by these agents to carry their business within their locations. And then it also brings banking to the doorsteps of individuals. So we talk about rural communities, peri-urban communities, where the banks are a bit far from customers. So they have a bank very close to them where they can do their transaction.
Brilliant.
Just to what Mr. Friday said about access to those in the hinterland and rural areas. I want to put it in this perspective from the consumer perspective. Agency banking has made it possible for consumers to receive financial services at a very cost-effective manner. It takes, for example, if I have to travel down to a city or go to a bank to transact, I have to take transportation and all that, go down there. But agency banking and financial inclusion has brought financial services down to us. We call it inclusive banking in my bank. So the cost of going to the branches to transact has been drastically reduced. I just only have to walk down to a nearby shop or a nearby supermarket, just very close to me, just to carry out transactions and be happy. And it has its customer experience as well.
I'm glad you also added that. So essentially, we have like three major players. We have the banks, the middlemen and middlewomen, the agents, as it were, and then the consumers or customers. Am I right?
Yeah.
So across three value chains. Okay. Let's go back to Abuja. Mr. Kambarima. So we've tried to establish some of the benefits, some of the the pros of agency banking, but just break it down for us further. How lucrative a business or a venture is agency banking?
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode. When we talk about agency banking, actually, it's actually targeting the SMEs, the SMEs, that is small, medium enterprise businesses. And mostly, for you to start this business and then for you to establish this outlet or something like that, you must have an existing business. You can't just walk in and then you want to be an agent, start cash in, cash out transaction. No, definitely you must have an existing business where you're familiar with all the cash management, how to manage your funds, and how you relate with your customers. So in this case, and then this the agency banking actually is very, very profitable. Why? Because it's an added value to you as an SME. That's the small medium enterprise. Why? Because you'll be having your business, you'll be selling out your provisions, provision, pharmacy, supermarkets and everything. It's light actually. So whenever you're into this business, actually, you have to focus on targeting your customers, and then also targeting locations actually where there are no bank branches, or it's a very few branches, to have access to these customers where you can get the traffic, the cash out, and then cash in, event enrollment, account opening, and that's how you can have more profit on this business. Thank you.
I like those words, cash in, profit. Those are words I love to hear, and I imagine those are words like Nigerians love to hear as well. So let's get to our resource persons on Zoom, Mr. Egwuonwu and Mr. Ochai. And I'd like you to even break this down even further, because I like the idea that this is going to create employment for lots of Nigerians. I mean, 1.1 million people already enrolled, and I imagine, the potential in this. So when we say it is lucrative, can you maybe give a figure? How much can I make in a month as an agent, or in this particular subsector? How much can I make, Mr. Egwuonwu?
If you can hear me, I can take that.
Okay, well, let's start with Mr. Ochai then. We'll go to Mr. Egwuonwu. Go ahead.
Okay. So in terms of how much you can make in hard value, you can make upward of 100,000 naira every month doing agency bank. Yeah, that's very correct. In fact, there are agents who make well over that. But then again, there's a caveat. So I think one thing that will determine how much you make is the footfall that you actually generate to your agency post or your shop, as the case may be. So that's very important. And also important is the services that you offer. So we do see a lot of service providers provide beyond just cash in, cash out, other transaction types, right, that agents can also get from. So I think what is most important is, one, the footfall. So location is very, very important. You have to be positioned where you can actually drive the human traffic to actually come patronize your service or the service at your shop. And then very importantly, the number of services that you have available for customer uptake as well can also help.
Mr. Ochai, you're already taking us deep into this. I mean, you're whetting my appetite. I feel like I'm rolling already, and I mean, you're doing a good job at that. But if you say that it's possible to actually earn 100,000, that's times 3 of the current minimum wage. And again, I imagine the quantum of employment that this can actually create. So we have established that indeed agency banking is lucrative But the question I imagine is on the minds of a lot of people is, how do I become an agent? I mean, we talked about how lucrative it is, how the penetration is, and all that. So let me go back to Mr. Olubukola and just find out, how easy is it to enroll as an agent? Let's really scratch the surface a bit.
Okay, thank you very much. It's easy, like my colleague here said. You need to first have a business, that is an existing business. It could be a small kiosk where you just sell provisions, like Nigerians like to call it, or where you sell groceries. It could be any business that currently your financial institution knows you with, and then you only need to let your bank know that you are interested in their service. In fact, many banks do look for such businesses and actually go approach them to onboard them on their agents banking network. So it's not definitely you have to do there'll be some checks. Already your bank knows you, and because your bank knows you, they have all your information in terms of KYC requirements, and they understand your business, so they can easily engage you and enroll you onto the network. So primarily it's the bank that ensures that they are on board agents, and banks are always on the outlook for those businesses that are properly located where there are fewer access to financial services. So banks are always on the drive to onboard more agents, and if you have an existing business, you are a candidate. Thank you.
Well, thankfully we have the banks here with us, so we're going to be breaking it down even further. But if you've just joined us, you're just in time. You're listening to the Financial Literacy Public Enlightenment Campaign. It's a series on radio where we essentially open your eyes to government policies that can help you be financially viable. We're here for you. We call us the Money Gang. You'll be right. Well, we've been speaking with our resource persons. Today we're talking about agency banking. You may have seen those kiosks here and there, those shops that they sell provisions, as you put it. So you may have seen those things, but we're trying to help you understand how you can make this work for you. And we have talked about how you can be an agent. But then for the customers, before we get to the customers, let's talk to the banks now and just understand how easy it is to enroll in this agency banking matter, as I like to call it. Now let me come back to Mr. Nwokolo here in our Lagos studio. How easy is it really?
Yeah, it's very, very easy. It's just for you to walk into an FCMB branch and make a request. We also have our direct sales agents who have been asked to canvass the market, find out potential customers who already have existing businesses and want to key into the agency banking project. So we onboard them directly from where they are without them coming to the bank. And then we are also working on a digital platform that will enable us, or enable people log into the agent banking business of FCMB without even having a direct interface with anybody in the bank. So it's pretty easy to become an agent of the bank.
Very easy. I'd like to get a taker on this one. How technology also helps in the whole process. I know this is a period of, and we talked about e-Naira last week and 2 weeks ago on this. So let me find out. Mr. Ayorinde, are you with us now?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay, great. It's good to have you. So help us understand, in terms of enrollment, transaction, and all of that, just what role does technology play, and how easy is it to have maybe people outside of technology reach on board this agency banking business?
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having us again. So in terms of technology, technology has proven that over the time, it has made a lot of things easier, right? And just like the name, agency banking, for an agent, it takes literally less than 20 minutes to become an agent when we talk about agency banking. And that's thanks to technology that's actually made things easier, right? It reduced a lot of paperwork. It's reduced the number of personnel in terms of, when it comes to the traditional banking system. And this is all thanks to technology. You can easily interact. You don't have to physically you don't have to physically go into like a bank branch to access any services. Literally from a mobile application, you can access whatever services you want in terms of other services around agency banking, not necessarily the traditional cash in and cash out. So technology has really helped us to drive things a whole lot. And just like one of my fellow panelists said earlier on, I mean, something that started as far back as 2010, and we've gotten to a number of about 1.1 million. I mean, that has shown how much this has been much technology driven, and how fast we're embracing it in Nigeria as a country.
Lovely. Fantastic. I love the part where you said you can actually be an agent in less than 20 minutes. So if you started the process when we started this show, you'll have become an agent already, because we're 27 minutes into the show. We're due for a break in a moment, but I'd like to just tell you that we are live across the nation and even across the world, because we're on YouTube and we're on Zoom. And I'd just like to appreciate those joining us via Zoom, like Papaji Musa, those joining from Gombe State, Emeka from Anambra State, the Bangida from Bauchi, we have Abdullahi from Niger, Nwokolo from Ebonyi, literally from across the country. It's just beautiful. Yinka Oladoshi from Cross River. But just before we take this break, let me tell you, you can also be a part of this program on Zoom, on YouTube and all that, and even via phone and text messaging. If you want to message us, the number is 0909 861 5403. Let me slow down. 0909 861 5403. That's the number to send your message to. But if you want to call us, if you want us to hear your voice live and direct, call us on 0705 149 3324. 149 3324, or those go to SMEgrowth.ng. I still have my panelists here with me. We're discussing agency banking, the fundamentals. We're breaking it down for you. But we'll go on this quick break, and when we return, we'll bring you more interesting conversation. Please stay with us.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Money, oh, he gets different from for olden days. Not trade by barter. Carry day, pounds a day, naira day, and today in era 7 done day. Oh, for cashless transactions, for financial inclusion, no transaction fee. Central Bank of Nigeria don't introduce e-naira, wey go be our digital currency. E-naira na the same naira o. 1 e-naira equals to 1 naira. Instead of to the carry cash the waka, e-naira go dey inside your phone. E-naira no fit tear, e no heavy, e dey easy to transfer, and you fit use and buy, sell just like naira note. Country people, make we move with the times. To begin use e-naira, ask your bank. Na e-naira, e-naira. This message now from Bankers Committee.
Are you a micro, small or medium-sized business in Nigeria? Do you have questions related to banking or how to finance your business? Then tune into the Bankers Committee weekly financial literacy and public enlightenment radio show, where subject matter experts will be providing industry knowledge and business opportunities in the following areas: e-naira, agency banking, foreign exchange, RT200FX, raising capital, Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, Nigeria Quick Response, NQR code. This radio program will run for 13 weeks on the services of Radio Nigeria between 5 to 6 p.m. every Monday from May 9th, 2022. The Bankers Committee is committed to educating the public on leveraging existing opportunities within the financial services sector. So make it a date. To ask questions or for more information, visit www.smegrowth.ng or at Bankers Committee FLPE on Facebook and Instagram. This message is from the Bankers Committee.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
And we are back. The Money Gang is back right here on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We're live across Nigeria, and It's good to have you back. The Financial Literacy Public Enlightenment Campaign is where you get to have access to all the latest information on government's policies, government's package and programs split across different banks and financial service providers, all to make you financially viable. Today we're discussing agency banking, and it's been a very interesting conversation with my panelists. We're speaking with Mr. Olubukola from the CBN, Mr. A.Kambarima from Jaiz Bank, Mr. Obinna Egwuonwu from Fidelity Bank, as well as Mr. Akoh Ochai from Union Bank, Mr. Damilola Ayorinde, who is from Crown Force, as well as Mr. Nwokolo from FCMB, and Mr. Chukwudi Ibeh from Keystone Bank. And let's get back into this conversation, gentlemen. By the way, if you want to be a part of this, you can always call us. You can always send us your messages. We're live on Zoom as well. I'll just take the number quickly. The number to message us on is 0909-861-5443. And if you want to call us, the number to call us on, if you want to find out about agency banking, if you've got questions on your mind, is 0705-149-3324. Or just go to our website, smecro.ng. By the way, I'm seeing those questions or those comments on Zoom, so we'll get to that in a moment. But let's get back into this. So we've learned what agency banking is, how lucrative it is, how much you can make a month, as much as 100,000 naira and even more. So we've tried to establish all of that. But Mr. Olubukola, I'd like you to help us understand this. How can we recognize agents, really? I mean, there are lots of kiosks everywhere, but how do you know which ones are really agents? What do you look out for? How can I identify them?
All right, thank you very much for that question. The agents have a specific logo that is known, especially for SANEF. If you have a SANEF branded agent, you'll see it clearly. Aside that, all banks are required to ensure that the agents display their logo conspicuously at their agent points. So Nigerians should look out for either the SANEF logo or the brand, the logo of or the brand of most of the banks that we have in the country. So that's one of the things you need to look for as a customer of any Nigerian bank. Of course, secondly, in interacting, the various agents' fees are supposed to be conspicuously displayed. The agent should be able to identify the banks that as enrolled it on him or her on the network, and normally, like we had said earlier, they are small and medium enterprises, mostly micro and small enterprises that have existing business going on in usually remote areas where they can also avail Nigerians with banking services.
I apologize for that timeout. You know how technology can be these days. But Mr. Olubukola, I'm glad you made your point. I lost you there, but I'm sure our audience at least got a major part of that. But let's continue on this conversation. You have established how people, you've established how people can essentially recognize who the agents are and who the agents are not. But I'd like to hear Mr. Egwuonwu's voice on this one. I'm not sure we have spoken. He is the head of agency banking at Fidelity Bank, also joined us this evening. So, Mr. Egwuonwu, help us also understand. So I imagine that agents are not banks really, they are mini banks. But what is their scope of operations? What can they do? What can they not do? What is the extent of the transactions that agents can, conduct?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. Just as my co-panelists had earlier pointed out, so here there are so many services an agent can offer, depending on what the principal, in this principal I mean the bank or the super agent or mobile money operator have provided for them. The basic thing they do is cash deposit and withdrawal. That's the cash in and the cash out. And of course, in this space, we know that cash withdrawal has become so prevalent for so many people. Is the only thing that the services available at agent location is cash withdrawal, because everywhere they call them now POS people, no longer agency banking. Some people wonder when you talk about agency banking, they are wondering what is agency banking. Oh, is it all those POS? POS is here. So it's cash deposits, cash withdrawal. We have bill payment. Bill payment is all these utilities, subscriptions, a telco, and we have the payment of salaries if your principal allows you to do that. The funds transfer services, which has to be local, of course. The balance inquiries. Even at times generation of mini statements. The agents can actually offer that. The list is not exhaustive. We have different kinds of collections that you can use the agent outlet as a channel for you to recover your loan. The agents are not meant to disburse loan, actually. It's a channel for a bank to recover their loan. You can use agents to issue cards to your customers, and they have a fee upon card issuance. They open accounts, which is the most important thing, because that is the area in this industry we've not really developed so much. So many agents out there, they don't do account opening. They are only consigning, just do withdrawal, and they be done with that transaction. The account opening is key because it's a key driver for financial inclusion. Then, of course, we have a whole lot of things the agents are not supposed to do. Agents should not see themselves as a bank, because they are not a bank. You don't deceive the public that you are a bank. So you are representing a bank. You have to show the bank you are representing. Of course, agents are not exclusive to any particular financial institution, but at least any transaction you are offering to a customer, the customer can request to know who is the bank or the super agent you are offering this service on their behalf. So you can't just, agents cannot just, so there are so many things, you cannot just charge customer anything you like. You might think these days some school of thought are asking, let CBN allow the fee to be driven by the forces of demand and supply. The banks are supposed to have their fees and they control the fees to reasonable extent the agents are charging. Then the agents should not operate any transactions that was not communicated by the bank or the super agent. And all these services are found in the agreement or the contract you sign with the agent, sign with the bank. So in a nutshell, there are a lot of things agents can do, and it's important banks add so many values that can really increase the revenue the agent is getting from this business, because it's that revenue that compels agents to be sustainable in that business. We don't want agents that we start agency banking today and tomorrow is no longer there. So if the business is not sustainable, we will not continue in that business. Thank you.
Okay, that is really exhaustive. I like the fact that you broke it down really well. But quickly, Mr. Kambarima, So when I hear banks sometimes, I think of Forex as well. Is that possible with agency banking?
Okay, yes, it's very, very possible actually. When you look at the security around, issuing ATM cards at agent location. First of all, you have to protect, the security around issuing this.
By the way, I said Forex, like foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange. No, currently, actually, I can see we do extend these services at this agent location.
Oh, okay. But the point you were making, what was that about, by the way? I think it was a vital point you were making.
No, actually, I told you how you say an issuing of ATM cards at the agent location.
Oh, I see. But please go ahead. That's a vital one as well.
Yes, actually, yes, exactly. When you talk about issuing of ATM cards at the agent location, actually, you need to secure, your platforms inside the banking hall, even around your branches before extending to this agent location actually. So most of these institutions, some of these institutions actually issue ATM locations, while for Jaiz Bank actually currently we do not issue ATM cards at agent location. But we have this platform where we call this Jaiz via our application. You can make your transaction at agent location cardless. If you have a Jaiz Bank account number, you can just easily visit any of our Jaiz Bank location and then make your cash out transaction.
Right. Okay, so we have to race now. We have barely, 15 minutes or less to wind down, and there's a lot of questions to run through. So let me take this to Mr. Ayorinde. I'll come to my guests in Lagos, my parties. But Mr. Ayorinde, how safe is it to use agency banking? I know some people have complaints saying, well, looks like my ATM details are not safe. I give someone and they can easily get details. But just how safe is it?
Okay, thank you again. So in terms of safety, right, it goes back to the earlier question that my fellow panelists sort of addressed, right? We're talking about financial transactions here. So number one, the key word is trust, right? And not only are we running this agency banking for the benefit or the lucrativity around it, we're also doing it because of the safety of the customers. It's one of the reasons why the regulator, in this case, which is the Central Bank of Nigeria, have mandated SANEF, right? So most of the time, if you're gonna go to an agent location, you want to go to a branded agent location. Now, what do I mean by branded? So the regulators have designated SANEF to be able to capture most of all these agents. They're the one that can tell you a well-known or a recommended certified agent, right? And in that case, if you're literally going to use an agent in terms of agency banking, we would advise you go to a branded location, which is with a name tag SANEF on it. That gives a level of safety to the customers. Other things we need to think around in terms of safety, it's majorly around when it comes to transactions. Right. I mentioned something around technology earlier on, right? Taking your card, like you're taking your card to an agent to do a transaction, does not necessarily mean the agent the agent has access to all your details, right? It's just a matter of, the basic services which they do to them, which is the cash deposit. So you want to withdraw cash, you walk into an agent location, it's still your card, it's still your details. You insert it into the POS and you key in your PIN. You always have to look out for you have to look out for cameras, right? Hidden cameras. You have to protect your PIN. These are the messages the regulator preaches every single day, right? Protect your PIN in terms of when you're putting in your PIN, when you're putting in any personal information, make sure you protect them. Using both hands. So those are all the things we need to look out for in terms of safety.
Okay, you've managed to take on two questions: how safe it is and how to protect against fraud. But I don't know, Mr. Ochai, is that something you also want to speak to as well? Just how to protect yourself when, maybe as an agent even, or as a user or a customer?
Oh, sure. So as a user, part of what we do at Union Bank is also sensitize our customers to be very careful with their, what I call the PII, their personal identifiable information, so that when they go out to transact at any touch point, they secure their PIN. They make sure also that when you give cards to your card to an agent, right? You need to be very vigilant so that either the card details are not copied up. While if you're distracted or something like that. So you need to be vigilant at the point of transaction. Essentially, is what we tell a customer. And then, of course, even in the processes that we have, our brand name is the Union Direct brand. The processes that we built around them is also to ensure, that transactions are authenticated by the customer's PIN. So that introduces some level of security. But from where how we also look at it, we believe that this safety is not just the customer. We think that all the participating parties are responsible for the security of transactions even at the agent location. So we do carry out, constant trainings of agents, clearly pointing out what their responsibilities are in trying to ensure, to protect the the data of customers that actually come to their location. My fellow panelists mentioned trust as a critical factor of growing even your your transaction or your business as an agent. So one way to actually develop that trust is to make sure that every customer that comes to your touch point, the customer's sensitive details are protected. So that's very important. But the way we look at it is security is not just for one person. All participating parties, the banks, the customer, as well as the agent, must be very attentive to the security matter. The security of the transactional data that we exchange across these touch points.
And working together, we can all ensure that this is a safe and secure, outlets to use. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Ochai. Welcome to my buddies in Lagos studio. So tell us really about some of the maybe policies and packages that financial service providers, PMBs have that they've developed essentially for agency banking, either to ease the process, to make it more innovative. And I'll begin with Mr. Nwokolo here. What are some of those maybe packages, policies available?
Yeah, okay, so for us at FCMB, we try to make things very easy for our customers. So we have special agents for farming businesses as opposed to traders. And so we built a platform called Easy Club, where we get aggregators together, we get farmers together, all the people playing in the value chain, we get them together, and it's easier for you to communicate with them there, to tell them what to do, embed financial literacy into what you do, because we are talking about people living at the bottom of the poverty pyramid. Most of them are not very educated, and so you need to give them information all the time. For instance, don't tell anybody your PIN, don't give money directly to our staff members. If you do any transaction, you must ensure you get a receipt. So these are regulations, internal policies that we educate our customers on.
Pardon me, I just realized we had an audio cut. Just before I take this to Mr. Ayorinde, Mr. Olubukola, I was asking that when people have issues, where do they go to? Who do they call on to? I'm talking about the customers, even the agents. Is there help available for them?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for that question. Very important one. In the first instance, each agent should have logo or brand of its bank and the complaint desk to which they can channel any complaints. And such should be well displayed at the agent location. Outside that, the customers can walk up to any branch of their bank and lodge their complaints. If their complaints are not addressed satisfactorily by the bank, they also have the opportunity of escalating the problem or the dispute to the Central Bank of Nigeria through public email, cpd@cbn.gov.ng, which is also on the CBN website as well. Through that means we're able to watch out for instances where a bank may not have been able to address customer issues adequately, and we get those issues, we follow up with the banks and ensure that the customers are well protected in every instance. So the customers should be rest assured of the opportunities, the channels for which they can get redress for any issue that they may have. Just so that I clarify another thing that was mentioned earlier, it's important to say that account opening at agent services is only for the purpose of collection of forms and submission of the form, and not necessarily that the agent can open an account. Remember, the agent is not the bank. Similarly with debit card as well. Basically, I think that would be it for me for now. Thank you.
Okay, I see some questions on Zoom actually. I'm tempted to take them, but we have just a minute to close. Papaji Musa is asking about e-Naira. Papaji Musa, we talked about e-Naira last week, so I'm sorry. He's asking if you can link more than one bank account to the e-Naira wallet. I see Emeka also asking, okay, by the way, there's another one. How do I become an agent in a point? There's a lot of information on that. If you could just read through the chat or go over this session again on YouTube. Emeka is saying, how can I access loan to support my business? Of course, you can always find that across the DMBs. And as we wind down, gentlemen, we have to run right now. I know it's a very interesting conversation, but just to mention, there's another question here that says, what are the criteria the criteria needed to be an agent? Well, we talked about that as well. You can always rewind.
And go back to the previous conversations. But gentlemen, we have to run. It hurts me. But it's been an amazing time with you, Mr. Olubukola, A.Kambarima, as well as Obinna, Egwuonwu, Mr. Ochai, Mr. Ayorinde, Mr. Nwokolo, as well as Mr. Ibeh. Gentlemen, thank you so very helpful understanding this conversation around agency banking. But guess what? We'll be back next week, bigger and better. I'll give you a deeper dive into this world. Okikiolu signing off on the FLP, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. I'd like to appreciate the team, the crew in Lagos. Amazing work they're doing, as well as the crew in Abuja. Till then, goodbye.